Lightworkers Unite is a podcast and social show hosted by intuitive women, lightworkers, and most importantly, friends, Mayume and Manjeet. Welcome to our podcast, where we believe there is a lightworker within all of us.
Whether you are a medium, an educator, or a nuclear technologist, there's a lightworker within you, and we have work to do.
This is a call to action.
Let's get into it.
Let's get into it.
How are you, Mayume? Okay. Oh, yeah.
I haven't seen you in a couple weeks, Manjeet.
Right? I know. I don't like it.
A couple weeks.
I'm telling you, I don't like it.
It's a weird. It's like a weird, not disconnect, but the distance all of a sudden settles in. Like I feel like a separation, and then come back together. You know.
Totally.
We should always have the connection. We don't want the distance or the. Anyway,
yeah, I know.
Happens. We have to live our own lives too.
I know. I think that's it. It's like this. It's like our bodies or like our psychic selves are really like connected, and then we get pulled away into like these like 3D lives. You know, like kids and school and work and like then it's like I get to see Mayume again and talk about shit that really matters.
And
no, not that that doesn't matter, but the fun stuff, right?
I love it. Fun, deep stuff. No, I just had, but it's good. It's good for us to, do the human stuff, and I really love connecting with other sisters, other girlfriends, and like I told you, my roommates that I absolutely love and adore. It was great to reconnect with them and spend that time. And how about this? I kayaked with wild horses. It was so magical and relaxing, and I really connect with water. So I'm so glad we did it.
Oh, I'm so happy. Yeah, I loved your pictures. And it's a great time right now. Things are opening up. We can start exploring a little bit, start connecting with people that are, vaccinated. If you're into that thing. This is normalcy, right? Like this is starting to feel a little bit more. I love it. I love it. Yeah. It makes me really happy to be able to see my friends posting pictures of them being at the the Aqua Sox baseball game, at the first time.
Agreed.
And, it's just lovely. It is lovely. Yay.
Everything opening up. And I love hugging people. I'm back to hugging.
Yeah, me too.
I love that.
100%.
100%.
Yep. So, what are we?
Yeah, go ahead. I was just going to say it. What are we talking about today, Manjeet?
Well, on our calendar, we have past lives. We're going to talk about past lives. And this is because you have a
sacred circle
coming up.
Well, it's not this month because the next one's at Gemstones and Crystals, which we just did our last podcast, but it's coming up in August. My August sacred circle is all about past lives. I'm pretty excited about it. Sorry, I'm chewing on an Altoid. I have to finish. I have to chew it.
That's awesome. Got it. Yay. So how do you where do you want to start with this conversation? Because there's a lot of maybe with the circle, what can people expect? You're gonna.
Well, I think what I'll talk about is whether or not I would like to talk about the belief of a past life, right? I think there's many people who don't believe we have past lives. They believe, nope, this is the one. This is who I am. I was born. I'm human. I am living a life, and then I die, and that's it. Right. And maybe some believe, yes, I'm a soul. I'm living this one life, and then I die, and then I go back to heaven, and that's where I'll be for eternity. Right. The one shot. But that's not my belief. And I think there's books about it. There's plenty of people, doctors, who talk about when they have a patient and under hypnosis who will all of a sudden discuss who they were in a different life and all the memories that come back from that. And there's different shows that also talk about the one like on Netflix. Did you watch that Surviving Death? Did we
Mm-mm.
talk
I
about
haven't seen
this?
that one yet. I know.
Oh,
I'm so
you'd love it.
excited.
It's got mediumship in there. It's got near-death experiences.
Oh
It's really
man.
interesting. And then they talk about past lives where these young children
Mm.
talk about who they were and their memories, and then they double check the facts, like what they're saying,
Yeah.
and they come up and they're actually accurate information that these kids would never ever know about this
Yeah.
person who's passed. So so I believe that we have more than one shot.
Sorry. That was
That's okay.
loud.
I should
Sorry.
make sure
Past
my phone
lives.
is off actually too.
No, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Like past life.
Yeah, I love it.
No,
But
I was
it's
gonna
true.
say about
I
your
think so. Oh, go ahead.
yeah. Oh, I was just gonna say about your the young lives. That
Mhm.
is there's a that you're right. That's Dr. His name is Jim Tucker, and he's now the director of the Division of Perceptual Studies, and that's his focus. So he has this
Yeah.
book that's called Return to Life, and he basically studies children and really delves into their past lives. So there's all these really cool studies in this book about I think one of the well-known cases, it's James Leninger. He's a young boy who verified his past lives being a World War II pilot. So
Yes.
it's, these are physicians, right, that are actually investigating and trying to correlate and collaborate, these young children saying, you're not my mom. Like, I know how to fly that plane. These
Mhm.
itty 2 to 5 year olds, saying all this really weird. I remember when this happened,
Exactly.
right? It kind of freaks out parents, though.
It
So I just
does.
kind
And
of
that's
love
the
that.
one that's highlighted in the Netflix series Surviving Death is that kid.
Oh, awesome. Yeah.
It's
Oh, cool.
really, really, yeah, really interesting. So
Oh,
interesting.
man. And so, you kind of like scratch your head and think, well, what do we not know? Like, I mean, there's so much that we just don't know, you know?
Right. Right. We just
So,
don't. And so I like to kind of tap into that. Or when I'm talking to spirit, I might be told or from someone who's passed that, we've had a past life together, or we're a part of the soul family and we've done this
mhm,
before, or this was a lesson that we're trying to learn, and or this was part of the soul contract, all these things that have come up. And
yeah,
so and even between you and me, we've talked about, my past life, your past life. So these
yeah.
things that have maybe carried with us, with our soul. So, and we come back to try it again, whether to learn the lesson, or, and then what happens is we carry maybe some um, gifts that we had back then, or some talents. I've done a workshop with Denise Lynn. Like, gosh, we're coming on 4 years now. Can't believe it's that long ago. Where she had us in the group in the workshop go back to take and utilize a trait, a talent that you used in a past life, to bring it back into this life. I thought that was really interesting.
So cool.
It is really cool, but to kind of heal some things on our bodies. They talk about markings on your current body that were maybe done or afflicted to you from a past life, that
Mm,
the scar or the line or whatever it is has come through onto this body. So
mm,
it's really interesting stuff. And I really took that workshop to learn more and to have a past life regression myself. And then and I had several just in that workshop, but then to also offer it for my clients who wish to
mm.
travel and learn a little bit about a past life, whichever one
Yeah,
spirit wants them to know. So it's kind of fascinating, and
yeah.
I want to talk about it, and I think there's some people that might want to know, like, well, who was I in a past life, and how do I find out? And
Mm,
the main question, and I'd love to ask you what your thoughts are, is why? Why do we want to know about a past life?
mm.
What good is it if
Yeah.
it's in the past? What do you think?
Well, I mean, obviously we're the same frequency about our belief systems, with time and space being malleable almost, like that there are things happening that we can't understand.
Yeah.
And I think that we are sometimes remembering things in our past lives, um, for healing. I think that's a really big part of it is sometimes, there might have been an atrocity in your past life, that you were, savagely hurt and you were unable to complete, your mission or your purpose. And in that case, you might come back into this life looking for a way to complete your mission, but also to heal that pain that was afflicted upon you and, unjustly. And that's been my experience a lot with my clients going into, past life stuff, is really trying to look back and understand, oh, wow, that's why you're feeling this way. It's not pain necessarily from this life. It's pain from another life that is really wanting some resolution. Yeah.
Yes.
That's kind of how I feel about, why it's important to kind of look at these things in our past lives. It's really a really rare and magical opportunity for profound awareness, and healing. Yeah.
Healing, absolutely. And it's funny because when I went back to my past life, I went back to a time period where I was living in the South, and I was kind of in a more of an urban area, not like a plantation, but I was a little African American boy, and I watched my father be hanged for a crime, where they felt like he actually stole some money from a cash register. And so this played out, and that was part of the process, was to go back and let something play out, whichever one was meant to be shown to you. Like, you don't have control when you go back. And so then it was like a groups of 6. So we talked about it. And I thought it was really interesting that, in this life, my father was murdered. And so in that life, my father was murdered.
Yeah.
And so then she had us go back again with the intention to go back to that life and change something, change the outcome, whether it was for me or for someone, a loved one. And I thought it was really fascinating, but I was able to just kind of set the intention that I wanted to change him not stealing from the cash register. And it was like a movie in my mind that played out. And man, just like, you feel like you're making this shit up.
Yeah.
You feel like I'm just daydreaming and I'm letting it go. And it's just, turned into this crazy, wild daydream. But that's what she talks about, is it feels as if you're daydreaming, but it's memory and you're in a meditative state. And so I let it play out with the intention. I didn't know how I was going to change it. So it's kind of like I created this, like I just know I wanted to change it. So it played out where I begged and pleaded, my dad, please don't do that. Please don't do that. And in me pleading with him, created this time lapse of where the woman who came in to catch him just caught me talking to him. It was really, it's a long sorted story, but it changed the trajectory of my life in how we moved forward with having my dad be with us. It was really fascinating. So when I told Denise Lynn about, how that changed, I went back and changed it. Her question to me was, wow, I wonder, how do you think your father's soul has been affected by that? And it was kind of rhetorical, like, really think about that. And I'm wondering too, did we maybe stop a pattern by going back? Like, how many lifetimes have I had where my father was maybe murdered? And so what did it do for his soul? So, I mean, I may not know right now. I may not know until I, cross over myself, but it was really fascinating to do that work. And I felt a shift in this life because of that.
How did you feel the shift? Like, what was the shift?
I felt more settled with his loss. I didn't have as much anger. In fact, I'll tell you, it was after that is when I decided to apply for the dialogue with my father's murder. It was after that past life regression that I was like, I felt this compelling need to talk to her, see her, and kind of move past it. Like,
Yes.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
And I love what you're saying about maybe this is all a bunch of bullshit, right? Like you can't prove it and you
Yep.
but you absolutely can't disprove it either, right?
Right.
And so I think that's where we come at this with our clients. It's like it's this theory that we're going back and we're healing, right? And whether or not you can prove it or not, it can be just deeply cathartic to go
Mm-hmm.
through. And so to me, that's the end result, right? Is if this is one way to create healing in your life, that you might not know how you got there and it might feel like a bunch of bullshit.
Mm-hmm. Right.
If you feel the shift at the end, if you can feel that healing, then I'm like, what? Yes.
But then what
Right.
does it matter how you got there?
Yeah. Right.
Right. But
It's
I
just
got
one
there.
tool. It's
It
one
is.
way. Right.
And I always
Yeah.
think, what if I hadn't done that? Would I have come out feeling that way? Would I
Mhm.
have set that in motion? And I don't
Yeah.
know. I can't say. But
Yeah.
I will say this: the more reason why it was so compelling to believe that I was having a true past life regression was because in this group it was 65 people in this conference room, breaking up into groups of 6 and sharing our experiences of when we went back. And we went back like 6 different times, and we would do it with the intention for each person in the group, not just for
Mm.
ourselves. So
Mm.
I just want to share this. There was one woman in our group, and she was this small Asian woman. I guess she was like me, but she was more Asian than me. She was full blood. But we each of us had to set the intention. I know, like there's this small Asian woman. We had to
Yeah.
set the intention to go back to one of her lives. And then we came back and shared what we saw, what we observed and experienced. And for her, because you each take turns, I was super excited to see what everyone was going to find about me. But when we did her, every single one of us, the other 5 of us, had different lives, but she was always a leader, a politician, a dictator in every
Oh
single one of
my.
them. It was insane. We were like comparing the notes. It was really fascinating.
And what did she do in this life?
Oh my gosh, do
You
I
know
even
what?
remember? I felt like she was a leader, like a business owner or something. I can't
Yeah.
really remember, but I
Mm.
thought it was really, she was a leader of some sort. And so
Yeah.
it kind of resonated with her when we all talked
Yeah.
about it. But we all came back saying the same, like, whoa, we were fascinated by that.
Isn't that crazy? I
Mhm.
mean, I think when you're all in that zone, right? You're able to like really just pick up on that energy, especially if there's been a continuing theme within that person,
Mhm.
over the lifetimes of being the spokesperson, having the microphone, being the leader, being the one in charge, that is um it's a really powerful imprint, for people to pick up on,
Yeah.
So yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's pretty cool.
But
So
it's so funny
cool.
because she doesn't, we're all this on a Saturday afternoon. I would have not known that about her just by looking at her at all.
Yeah.
So it
Isn't
was
that
really
crazy?
fascinating. And then, if I may, I have to share this other thing that happened with a past life regression for this
Mhm.
woman in our group. She'd had, and maybe I have shared this with you, but I know I haven't with the audience. But this woman had complained about having pain in her left shoulder, and it kind of radiated down her left arm and affected her hand and the elements of
Oh,
her wedding ring.
yes.
Yeah. Did we talk
Yes.
about this? Yeah.
I love this story. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
It's crazy. And so she was saying how almost like an allergic reaction or a rash or itchiness when she would wear her wedding ring. And it really upset her that she couldn't wear it. And this pain, it was just kind of, achy. And no doctors could figure it out what was going on. So that was part of one of the past life regressions that Denise led us in, was
Mm,
to go back and find out where in our body did we have maybe similar pains, especially if no one can figure out why. Like it didn't
yeah.
happen or anything happened specifically in this life. So that
Yeah.
was her intention. She went back. She said that when she came back to share, she said that she was a male Native American, and she went to war and was shot, or excuse me, not shot, but stabbed with a spear in her left shoulder. And
Mm.
so she said that seemed to be clear to her, that that's the pain that she was feeling.
Wow. Yes.
So, and she died that way. Then she
Mm.
said, so then you do that, then you go back to change it. She said, I went back to change it, and I decided to set the intention that I was not going to go to battle, but instead I was in love with another woman in the tribe. So she and I, we fled along the river
Mm.
and built a family, and I lived, right? So when
Mm.
she came back to say that that changed, she was crying, Manjeet, like almost
Wow.
bawling in tears when she shared it. She said, and I'm telling you guys, I can no longer feel this pain in my shoulder. Ever since,
Oh.
ever since she came back from the past life regression, she was moving her shoulder. She's in tears. She wanted to go first. She goes, I have to go first and tell you what's going on, guys. And she shared with us that the pain was gone. And then she looked
Mm.
at me and she said, ma'am, can I borrow your wedding ring? So I gave her my wedding ring. I'm like, yes, sure. And she put it on her finger and she held her hand out, and with tears, she said, I can't believe this, but there's no irritation. It's not itchy. It's like
Wow.
everything disappeared. And so and she gave me back
Amazing.
my ring. It was crazy. And that's what Denise was talking about, was these miraculous changes in our current body
Mm.
because we went back to a past life and changed that trajectory, changed that path. Of course, I went
Mhm.
back to my hotel room and my finger was all red and itchy. I had a rash where my ring was. I was
Oh
like,
my
holy
gosh.
shit. My whole finger had all these red bumps and itchiness from
So
getting my
how
ring back. So I
oh
cleared
so
it. I had to
oh so it was
clear my
from
ring.
her. It was a
Yeah,
transference.
into the
Oh.
metal, right?
Oh
It had to have
wow.
been. I
Yeah.
couldn't believe it because, yeah, I put my ring back on, and that night it was all itchy.
Oh my gosh. It's
Isn't
like
that
it
crazy?
jumped off of her and went onto you.
Crazy.
Oh, and then you cleared it and it
Crazy.
was
I
fine.
did. Yeah, it's been fine.
Oh my
But I was
God.
like, what the hell is happening?
Oh my God. I just love that story because it really does, right? It's a great example of healing. The it
Yes.
kind of under and I like I keep saying awareness, right? Awareness and healing, because sometimes just understanding it makes things make
Heals it.
more sense in your life. Like it's like, oh, well,
Yeah.
shit, that totally makes sense. And that's why, I mean, I have had a client that, just cannot wear turtlenecks, right? Just cannot wear anything
Mm.
around her neck, and even a necklace, like nothing around her neck at all. And to the point where it was almost debilitating, like it was kind of like, this is just really bizarre. My husband bought me this beautiful pearl necklace, like a little choker, and I can't fucking wear it. And the way I help folks when they're with their past life is through the Akasha.
Yeah.
So I look through their records, which is this basically a record of your whole life, and you
Y-
can go forward and look at different possibilities and in an
Yes.
Akashic
And
record
past
reading,
lives,
but you
right?
also can go
Yes.
back. Yeah, and so we
Yeah.
went back and we found a life where she was hung,
Yeah.
and so that imprint
Mm.
really, and it also really was interesting because it was her throat chakra that was always really occluded. So
Mm.
like we were doing all this like cool chakra work and clearing, her throat chakra. And then it was kind of like, wait a minute, this is a lot deeper than just an imbalance in your throat. Like she would, if people were trying to talk to her about something that she made her uncomfortable, it would just close up, you
Oh
know?
my gosh. Yeah.
And so it was like, it was all right in here, this
Hmm.
trauma. And so, we kind of did the regular things, and then when we went into the Akasha, it was like, oh shit, this is a lot deeper. And then there's ways to heal it in the Akasha, so there's different mechanisms to do that, which are a little
Which would,
different than the regression, but
well,
so there's
but
those are the
but
kind of
similar.
tools. Very
But
similar.
similar.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the impact is the
Mhm.
same. Yeah, you're right. The impact
Yes.
is the same, that it's cleared, that you can blast
Yeah.
that, that imprint, and that pain. And
Mhm.
sometimes it takes a little while to, sometimes we'll go back into the Akasha and just clear it, a little more. Because some of these lifelines, all these, you know, previous lives, there's a lot of deep patterns, that
Yeah.
can start forming, that can really wreak havoc on our lives. So I'm
Yeah.
just a big fan of like the whole past lives. And just
Yeah.
using it as another vehicle for healing and awareness. Yeah.
Yeah. For this
Love
current life
it.
to make, because we want to make this current life as best as we can and using the
Yeah.
tools that we have. I would love to see, that client of yours. I'm curious if a past life regression would serve her to go back to that life, maybe a day or a week or a month
Yeah.
before, she was hanged
Yeah.
to, now that she has that awareness to actually change it to
Yeah.
where her memory is that she wasn't, to see
Yeah.
if she would then, of course, feel better about,
Yeah.
clearing that up. Because that was talked about in many different stories during that workshop, how
Mm. Yeah.
physically they had, ailments leave the body.
Yeah, yeah. And when in the Akasha, you do something kind of similar, but it is different. But it is essentially, you're not rewriting it. You're actually healing it. You're blasting it away from
Mhm.
your DNA, from your actual record, so that the
Yeah.
memory is still there, but it doesn't have the impact anymore. So it's just
Yeah.
a different way, right? It
Yeah.
all ends up in the same way. And she was, I mean, after that Akashic training reading, we actually went back, I think, one more time, for some more healing, and we actually had to kind of look at that page a little bit deeper. So there's just a few other little techniques that we were doing, but yeah, I mean, it changed her life. Like, I remember
Mm.
she sent me a picture of her wearing a turtleneck and the choker.
Oh, good. I
And I was
love
like,
that.
you are so overkilling
Yes.
this, but I love it.
Yeah.
I was like, all this
That's
stuff
so
around
great.
it. But, they're just that having that awareness, just having that
Yeah.
understanding that, you know, there are things that we feel that we can't understand. And it can really, be confusing to us. And it can also put us into paralysis for moving on in
Mhm.
our lives. So this is,
Right.
I just, love that we can use that, try to head back there
Use
and
it.
see.
Why not?
Yeah.
I agree. And I think it's fascinating. And maybe someone doesn't feel like they need any awareness. They just want to, like, I don't know. I think it'd be kind of cool to find out, what I was or who I was and
Mm-hmm.
what I did. And, or for instance, why am I so attracted to, the
Yes.
1920s? I feel drawn, or why do I want to travel to this city? Like, I feel like I've
Yes.
been here before. So
Yeah.
those are all things that I think is really interesting to be aware of,
Yeah.
that like it's kind of cool. Let's say maybe you don't need healing per se, but you want to walk around a town that you once lived and you're like, I don't know why I know that there's a church on this corner. I don't know why I want to
Yes.
turn left here.
Yes.
I've never been here
Yeah.
before in this current life, but I've been here before.
Yeah. I have a little list. I have like a list of 9 things that are like, have you
Let's
had a
do it.
past life? So these are kind of the things that we were talking about, which is kind of, I mean, they just, as I was reading a bunch of stuff, it was all coming through. And that was one of them, is this feeling of familiarity. So like,
Hmm.
even in the moment or just in a geographical place, you might feel like, have I done this before? I know this. Yeah. Have you ever had that feeling of
Yes.
familiarity?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
It's
very,
it's bizarre and kind of wild, especially when you know for a fact that you never have been there before.
yeah.
Well,
Yeah. But yeah, another
yes.
really cool indicator that you may have had or that you've had a past life is when you have dreams or visions that seem very, very real. So like, I know I see shit all the time. Like we see things. I see,
Yes.
orbs and visions and, so I'm not talking about dreams, because that's another way that you can
Yeah.
really connect with your past life is through actual dreams, right? Like when you're
Right.
sleeping, and they are also very, very vivid. But what I'm talking about is like an actual, like, so a lot of times, and this happens a lot actually when I'm reading vision boards. Um,
Mm.
so I'll be if you ever have taken an intuitive vision board workshop with me, at the end of the process, you present your board if you want to. And if you're open, I will read your board like a tarot card. And I literally see them moving. Like the pages are moving and they're blossoming. They're moving in different directions, and like certain colors will pop,
Oh, I
and
love
highlight.
it.
So that's
I
how
didn't know
I'm
that,
reading
Manjeet.
that. Yeah, it's like,
I
but
love
then
it.
it's kind of connecting to like your higher self through, creativity, right? Because you made those boards, and a lot of times they do reference kind of your past, or all, and more importantly, the vision boards in particular are a lot about the future.
Mm-hmm.
So I am completely connecting with your Akashic record when I'm reading your vision board. So it's kind of a kind of a different way. And it took me years to really figure that shit out. Like
I was
I
just
couldn't
going to
figure out what I
say,
was
how?
doing.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting because you've been doing your vision board parties longer
Ever.
than when
Yes,
you got certified for the Akashic records.
exactly.
So
Yep.
that's what's so cool is like, aha, right? And
Yes.
now, I mean, I'm obviously that probably helped build that connection so you understood what you were doing, but you had been doing it all
Yeah.
along,
Totally. And
right?
then that is like, that's another part of my lives, my past lives. And that's why when I came across the Akashic record training by my mentor, Tracy Goody, I was like, I know this. I'm not learning it. I'm remembering it.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm remembering. And then it's a awareness and familiarity. Oh shit, I do this every time I see the boards, So
Yeah.
it was like, oh my God, it just felt like the whole training is amazing. But knowing that it's something that I've done before many, many times,
Yeah.
connecting people with their futures or their healing in the past, it
Yeah.
just felt like in this life, it felt so graceful and easy to do. And I do it a little different than other people too. So, I'm kind of
Yeah.
where when you do these trainings, you learn the basics. And then I had all this other stuff that came up with it, that became my practice of
Mm-hmm.
Akashic record reading. That's a little different than other. That's why it's cool to get your
That's
reading from
right.
different people, because right, we all do things a little different and they resonate with different people. don't you
Yeah,
don't you agree?
yeah, you have to make it your own. I mean, I'm not the only medium out there. There's a gazillion mediums and spiritual
Yeah.
mediums and psychic mediums, and for us to do that psychic mediumship work is, I'm going to deliver a message differently. I'm going to have a system or a way that I work different
Mhm.
than someone else, and
Yeah.
I think it's all great. I think everyone should have kind of their own way, right?
Yeah, yeah, and I love that about my teacher too. She's my teacher.
Your
But
teacher.
she was really cool about that. Like you take what resonates, and leave the things that don't, because sometimes those will come back at a different
Yeah.
time. And as I'm learning more and more, I'm like, oh yeah, I love revisiting some of the training or the books, and the resources, because now they make more sense. So it's like
Sure.
my own evolution of like I'm kind of catching up with all of that. So it's
That's
just a
great.
really fun way. So yeah,
So
those
great.
visions. So if you are the type of person that does see things, like, and sometimes I'll see a person and I'll actually see it like a movie. They're kind of frozen, but then their life, I can see like snippets of a movie of their life in the future.
Mhm.
So that's
Mhm.
a vision, right? That's like a precognition, like a vision that I'm having about this person that I have
Yeah.
no fucking idea what it means. But
Right.
if
Right.
they're open in a session, especially, then, we can talk about that. Like, have you ever thought of doing X, Y, and Z? I mean, I saw that with you. Have you ever heard of mediumship? Totally. I could see
Yeah.
you on the stage. I
Mhm.
saw you doing it.
Mhm.
And so it's really interesting because you're like, nah, I don't do that.
I mean, psychically, yes, tarot, reading people, but not didn't know that I could connect to loved ones until,
So
well,
awesome.
and I'd always was fascinated by them. I watched Teresa Caputo and all
Yeah.
those other, and was really enamored by the way they spoke and the way they delivered. I remember paying attention to their messages. Well, okay, let's be honest. I remember thinking, I wonder if I could do that. But I didn't
Yeah.
actually think that I would be one day. And so, yeah, I
It's
know.
funny,
Until
right?
my friend Manjeet told me, yeah.
Well, I mean, you were on the path that, that's the cool thing, right? It's like, this is calling to you. And I think
Yeah.
that's like something for our listeners to think about. If there's something that is calling to you, something that is like, even a geographical place or a symbol or a skill set, right? That you're really connected to. If it's something that's in your past life that you're kind of meant to do in this life, if we deny that, it can feel very unsettling.
Yeah.
Right. So it's
Agreed.
like really embracing, like, and I mean, in our world, we meet a lot of light workers in hiding. I mean, a lot of people that are denying their light worker ability for whatever reason, right? Lots of reasons, fear and, judgment and all kinds of stuff.
Hmm.
But when we deny our gifts, our skill sets, our power, these symbols that are coming to us for information and guidance, it starts to kind of like wear on us, don't you think? We
Well,
feel
yeah,
more and more
because
unhappy.
more and more unhappy because you're going down, a different path that isn't in alignment with who you are. And so I always feel like spirit
Mm,
nudges us, right? Nudge,
yeah.
nudge, nudge. And then they put some blocks, they put some barriers, your body starts telling you, fuck, yeah, no, this isn't, I don't feel good. It's so all these signs of I'm on the wrong path.
Yeah.
Until of course, then you get a brick upside the head, listen up.
Yep.
So yeah, paying attention to that. Yeah. And that's why I think the past lives really do give us a little bit more insight about who we are as a soul, right? Because
Yes. Yeah.
each life is different, male, female, geographically, race,
Yeah.
and but I think knowing that your soul is still the same and has learned from all these other past lives, and you're still learning, you're still having growth, and maybe there's a lesson that you just can't fucking figure out, still
Yes. And
haven't learned.
yes. And that's what we're here for, right? That's what we're here for, really, is to help
Yeah.
clear some of that, right? Clear in your soul sessions. Like, I mean, I've had your soul sessions when I was going through my cancer diagnosis. So I know very, very well how much that impacted my life, going back to a place of trauma for me and rewriting my story so that I could wake up from this nightmare
Yeah.
empowered. So I mean, I'm just so grateful for you for that. Like I know many of your clients are just kind of diving into these pieces of our life that we don't understand. Like, how did I
Mhm.
manifest this fucking tumor? Like, this
Oh,
is not me, but it wasn't from here. It was
no,
from another life. So
sure
it just,
was.
I needed to process that and find my fucking power, get it
Yeah.
back. And
Yeah.
that's what you did for me. So
I'm so
I
glad.
know that's my
Well, you did,
girl right
but you
there.
you did you did all the work, sis. You did all the
No,
work.
but I needed a torch bearer. I needed, we all do. I think
We all
that's
do.
why I
Yeah.
love this topic, because the healing that is available is just, it can be really profound.
I love the way
And
you say that. The healing that is available. Yes.
yes, right?
It's available. So why the hell not? Like find out who the fuck
Yeah.
was I and why do I do this shit? Why do I have these patterns? Why do I love
Yes.
coffee so much? Like what the did I was I don't know, pulling mules and bags of beans? Like I mean,
Jeez.
I love coffee, so I don't know.
I know. No, I'm with you. There are definitely things that I
So,
can't, like, I mean, I'm obsessed with the Ankh symbol, which I've told you
yeah.
many times. And people gift them to me, these beautiful Ankhs everywhere. Like,
Mm,
I love them. I want that symbol all over me. I want it all over my body. I want it all over my office, all over. Right? And, it means eternal life, right? It means different things in different timelines. But, I'm very aware of that. Like, I'm very conscious of the fact that there are certain symbols that come to me that are giving me messages.
mm.
So, I think that, and that's not from this life. It's from the past. It's from another
Yeah.
lifetime ago, where, you know, I'm excited to learn, wow, what is that about?
I love that. Yes, we have to be excited to want to learn,
Yes.
to want to
Yeah.
dig a little deeper and get in touch with our soul and figure
Mhm.
out, how can I better this life with this knowledge and awareness from
Yeah.
another life? Yeah. So,
Yeah.
what else you
I
got
th-
there?
I have actually, and it kind of bleeds into what we were talking about, is when you kind of know that you're coming into a new life from a past life, when you have what they call a soul family. So this is
Yeah.
when you connect, right? Like, this is where you and me come together, right? You connect with that person on a whole different dimension because
Yeah.
we've been together before. I've had flashbacks of you and me together in many different places in our
Mhm.
lives, and I think you have too. You've shared a couple with me, but it's so interesting to me that, you're just familiar. Like, I immediately know I'm safe. I can talk about aliens and all the things with no, there's, I, it's a just, I, it's just, I can't even put words to it, right? It's like it's there. It's just a profound connection of familiarity with
Yeah.
somebody, and I mean, I have that with my own family as well. Like, my siblings, they are so part of my lineage.
Mhm.
Like, I've been with my mother, my father, my brothers, my sisters. I've been with them many lives. And my daughters. Like, I remember when Mira was born, I was like, "Hi, welcome back." I recognized her, both of them. It was like, just,
Mhm.
so I think there's that. If you have kind of this really uncanny connection with somebody, that there's something to it, don't you think?
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
I do. Absolutely. Like I always say,
Awesome.
absolutely, Manjeet. Yes, it's very cool. And I know we've talked about this before, but with our connection and but how our connection was not visible to us until later in life. Like we've known each other
Yeah.
for 20 years, but we didn't see one another.
No.
It's
No.
wild to me, actually,
Yeah.
like really crazy how
Yeah.
that was possible. So, and I bring that up because I was just looking through some old photos as I was looking for something and I came across John's 40th birthday roast. And I was looking through it and there you are in the background and I didn't know you were there.
Yeah. I know.
I had no idea that you were there. And
Yeah.
I think you have no memory of even going. So
Yeah.
it's like I'm kind of like, what the fuck? Like
Yeah.
I remember certain things of seeing you like, hi, and always thinking, oh, she's so lovely, and we'd have a nice chat, but we didn't take it any further than that ever
Yeah.
until that camping trip. So I feel like spirit, the universe said, nope, not yet, girls, not yet.
Yeah. Well, and I
Wild.
feel like I was in the middle of creating, like, and remembering my daughters, because that my kids were being born and they were very little and they took up a lot of my time and, a
Yeah.
lot of our energy. And you were in the same boat. So I feel like
Yeah.
that soul family kind of needed me more,
Yeah.
and now that they're kind of older, it's like, okay, now I've got a little bit more bandwidth. I
Yeah.
can, like, it was, but I also, I felt a big shift in you when we were at the beach. Like, there was something that happened in that conversation. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you'll have to listen to our very Mayume and Manjeet. It's episode number 1.
Yeah.
In
That's
that
right.
moment, it felt like something was activated
Yep.
between us. It
I
felt
agree.
I think that's why it's such a profound story for me, is as soon as I saw Archangel Michael coming in behind you, I was like, "Oh, fuck, this is happening." Like, and I knew there was like a zzz, like it was, because I'd never seen him before around you. So there was something about it was like it was an activation. I felt like. Do you
Yeah, it
agree?
was I think that we saw each other because
Yeah.
again, I mean, we just didn't see each other. I mean, we knew each
Yeah.
other, but it
Mhm.
was not there wasn't that deep connection. So that's what I find so fascinating. Like, really? Like all
Yeah.
for the last 20 years? So, but for me, I think it's meant to be that
Yeah.
everything was meant to be so that the next 20 years that we have this connection. It's really crazy.
20? Fucking 40.
Or 40,
50. What are
50.
you
So
talking
yeah,
about? Fucking
that's
60
right.
years, dude.
Yeah, that's right.
110.
Well, how about the next few lives, the next future
Okay.
lives? We'll
Yes.
just start at the beginning. Let's not wait 40 fucking
Yeah,
years.
40 years. I'm like 20 years. What the fuck? What? No. 20 years. God damn it. No. I'm talking another 60 minimum.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
right.
we're going to be little fucking like shriveled up little prunes. And we're going to be like doing our podcast with our fake teeth.
I forgot my teeth. Wait, what'd you say? Say that again. Yeah.
Oh my God. So, I think the only other thing on this list that we didn't talk about, so if people are really thinking about their past lives and maybe they're connecting with their past life, there's also this, we talked about birthmarks. So that was kind of cool when you were saying like scars of like a past that feel and look like an arrowhead or a cigar
or a wound. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Those are something to kind of think about. But I thought this was really interesting that you kind of feel like that you've had past lives when you're younger, you kind of have this rush to grow up. Like you feel like you're kind of frustrated by your age. Like it's like you have a purpose and you don't really know what it is, but you feel kind of this panic, like this stress of like you really want to reclaim your life. So you're kind of waiting to grow up. Like you're almost like it's too slow,
That's so funny. That's what happened to me.
Me too. Yeah.
But it happened to me during my early marriage and staying home with the girls and raising them. There was this huge, I struggled with it. And then I struggled with like, God, I'm grateful to be home. I wanted it. I chose it, but I struggled with being home and not doing what I was meant to do. And I was searching and like, what is it? What is it? What am I supposed to do? And it was driving me insane because I hadn't found it, but I knew it was out there. And so, I still think like pinch myself that like I'm doing what I was meant to do. Even John says, it just, I had to get through those growing years, raising them and finding it out. But anyway, but it was a weird feeling though that you're talking about.
Yeah.
Like hurry up.
Yes. Like I am so ready. And I was, I was always the youngest person in the room in my nuclear career. I was always the youngest person. And people never really took me seriously, because of it, but I was always like frustrated by that. Like, come on, like, let's get going on this. Like, let's do this, but it was, when I read that, I was like, wow, I really resonated with that feeling of like, oh, can I just be like 40 right now? And just like all these fuckers will listen to me.
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah.
It's just so funny. Yeah.
That's so great.
So let's, what about a geographical place? Is there a place that you just have been and you just felt like I've been here before? You kind of mentioned something about it earlier, like, when you see a place and there's something there and there's a church on the corner. And has that ever happened to you?
Well, so that's funny. No, but I want to desperately go to the South. And this is before. I felt like drawn to the South before I had that past life regression. So that made sense to me why I had that past life and it was shown myself, in the South. But I haven't had a chance. I've never been to the South, but I really, really want to go. It's driving me insane.
And this is really weird because the only time it's happened to me a couple times, but the most profound time that's ever happened to me was in Savannah, Georgia.
No, that's where I want to go. Savannah, Georgia.
No, really? That's
where I want to go. That's where I have that on my bucket list. Savannah, Georgia.
Oh my God.
That's the place. There's a plantation that I have to see. I don't even know why or where it is.
I cannot even believe where it's at. I was totally looking at the word geographical place and it kept vibrating on my page. And that's why I asked the question. But that's where I had my very first interaction with, I remember I picked up my car at the Savannah. I was working for a big company at the time and traveling a lot, grabbed my car and I drove down the street And it was all these beautiful oak trees that were like, intertwined up at the top. And I was driving to my hotel and I knew exactly where I was going. I've never been to Savannah, Georgia in my life. And I always had like my MapQuest because we didn't have like phones and shit at that time, So I had all my maps ready to go like beside me. And I was completely blown away. I remember I went to this restaurant for dinner on the cobblestone, like by the river. And I was like, oh my, every cell in my body was like alive. I'm like, I have walked these streets. I know this road. I know exactly where I picked a restaurant that was like one of the, the best and oldest that's ever like been there, forever. Wow. I went right to it. And there was one seat for me. It was like the most profound familiarity and remembrance for me that it was weird because as a young girl traveling all over the place, I never went out at night ever because it's just not safe.
Yeah.
But I fucking walked around the streets in Savannah dark. And I was like giddy. I was like so excited. And I just remember feeling like, I'm home. Like I'm home.
Wow.
I'm home. And so when you said that, I was like, that is so weird. I'd never been there before. Never. Yeah.
And I'm dying to go. Maybe that's where we met.
It must be. So family.
I mean, yeah, that's fucking weird.
That is really
I told
weird.
you I was a little black boy. I'm a little African American boy. I know it and I need to go there. And it's a plantation. I just feel drawn.
Wow.
To go.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's go. Oh, we should do it and do a podcast.
We should do it. We should.
Fuck. Okay.
We just said fuck at the same time.
Oh my God. What a fun episode.
Oh
my God.
Crazy
I love
shit,
it.
Manjeet. I can't believe it. Savannah, Georgia. Yeah, here I come. Let's do it.
No, that's so bizarre. Because that was my place. That was the place. I remember calling William at the time going, oh my God, this place, I've been here before. And he goes, no, you haven't. And I was like, no, I know this place. This is my home. Wow. He was like, are we moving? What's going on? I was like, no, I just can't explain it. I can't. So if you're, feeling that way, if you ever felt that way about a geographical location, it might be interesting to make a note of that, and then have a session with Mayume or myself and see what shows up. Both of us.
Lightworkers. Yeah.
Oh my God. I love it. All right, my darling.
All right. Okay. Awesome. Good job.
You're amazing. Have a great
Very
circle.
Cool. You're amazing. Thanks. You have a great trip and we'll see you. I guess, we'll do this next week on Locale. Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
namaste. Bye, soul sister.
Bye, guys.